and welcome to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft, alongside second-year head coach for the West Bloomfield Lakers, Tyrice Grice. Coach Grice, coming into your second year after a long playoff run last year and the season that ended with the only team that was able to defeat the Lakers in 2021-2022 in the Rochester Adams Highlanders. Coming into this season, what are some of the main focuses of this team after a pretty successful year last season?
I think one of the key issues or concerns that we have to address this year is penalties. One of the things we want to do is just cut down our penalties. We felt that throughout the season that was a big headache for us, and at the last game against Rochester Adams we had 13 penalties. So that's one of those issues that if we can cut down our penalties, that we can go as far as we want to be.
How much of that comes back to experience? You have 8 starters returning on offense, 7 on defense. How does that play into really bolstering that discipline for your team?
Oh, it's big. It's big. The fact that it was my first year, kids adjusting to the new head coach. I think the players themselves coming back this year, they know what the mistakes we made. We honed it in on that as practice. But our coaching staff is really focused on making sure we teach proper technique and make sure we call it in the practice, and we see something in practice, we address it in practice. So when we see it in the game, it's something that we have dealt with.
In terms of the skill position, your team is loaded again this year with a lot of those key players from last year coming back and now in leadership positions. Samaj Morgan at the wide receiver, Rick Nance at the quarterback, Kenny Jones in the backfield. How does that play into this team's offensive firepower for a team that last year averaged almost 30 points a game?
Well, with all our key players coming back at the skill position, we returned all our receivers, our quarterback. We lost Dylan Tatum last year, but we got Kenneth Jones, who's a hard runner, runs pretty hard and very physical running back. We have Dante Pippen, who we expect to step his game up compared to last year. So we have the weapons. It's just about putting it all together on game day.
So often what is lost in the in reviewing successful teams is what they do in the trenches. You're also very strong there. Just a couple of starters gone on the offensive line and on the defensive line. Still one of the strong suits of this team. How important is that to execution of your game plans, especially against a really tough OAA Red this year?
Well, OAA Red always going to be tough, so you got to win in the trenches. And up front, we're pretty physical. We're big up front. We're returning 3 out of 4 starters on the defensive line. One of the key players that I expect to really step his game up this year is Xavier Davis, who played a lot last year. Didn't start all the games, but he played enough. And this offseason has been great, and I think he's going to step his game up to make us stronger in the middle. Of course, we got Brandon Davis-Swain, who committed to Notre Dame, and he's going to be a dominant player, and hopefully he'll step his game. And we got some young guys that need to step up. We got a 6'7" kid that's really tall, and hopefully he can get upfield and make some things happen. And that's a kid named Fountain Kid. So we got the pieces, just a matter of just putting it all together.
You talk about pieces. A couple of years ago, the Lakers had a freshman standout on the defensive side in particular. Linebacker Kari Jackson last year played in Florida at the IMG Academy. He's back this year. How big of an addition is that, having him back on this roster?
Well, we always say when they was freshmen that Brandon and Kari Jackson and a couple of other players, they the main nucleus of building their defense, and having him back complements each other. I think them two together, along with some other players, that's going to be very dominant force on that side on the defensive side of the ball. Just to have Kari Jackson back and the experience he gained from IMG, the leadership he brought into our program, that's going to be extra for all the players on our team.
Your schedule, it's so heavy, and in particular in the middle of the season, Rochester Adams, Clarkston, those big games back-to-back alongside Oxford, which is always a tough game for you. So with that being the case, how important is it early on in the season against teams that are no cupcakes themselves for your team to really get itself situated, get its discipline right, and execute the game plans?
You know, that's a big, that's we talked about that as a coaching staff to the team yesterday, in fact, talking about getting starting early, strong. When we lose a game, it's usually that first game. So we're going in this season well prepared, though we're in the middle of the season. But with the experience we have, that's a plus for us. So going into the season is going to be a really eye-opening experience for the first game. So we're looking for the experience of it all.
talking to Coach Tyrice Grice, head coach of the West Bloomfield Lakers in the second season at the helm. Coach Grice, before we take a break here, for fans at home, excited to watch the Lakers on Civic Center TV again this year, come out to the games home and away and see this team. What are some surprises they may see from your team? What should they be looking for in this iteration of the Lakers football team?
Well, I think one of the most talented players we have on our team and in our league is Rick Nance, the quarterback. I think you're going to see a player that's going his game twofold from last year. He gained experience. His leadership is up to another level. I think this player is going to be one of the most dynamic players to watch, and that's what the fans are going to see. So be out for some surprises by him.
Yeah, one thing I was really impressed with, I saw some footage from, you had a four-way practice earlier on, just about 2 weeks before the season began, and Rick Nance was making great decisions, going through his progressions quite quickly, not really staring down his target like we've seen from young quarterbacks in the past. How much is that experience really going to play into his ability to take that next step and bring up some of these young guys, too, in the skill positions to really make this offense return to where it's been so many times in the past as an absolute lightning rod?
Well, Rick Nance is a player he's our leader. He's going to get, as far as we go, it depends on him. And he knows that, he understands that, he wants that challenge. So Rick Nance is a guy that we go as far as he take us. And so we looking forward to him and the rest of the players to really step their game up. Offensively, we got some weapons that's, I think, going to surprise a lot of teams. So I think getting back to that high-scoring team output that we had in the past, you're going to see a lot of that this year.
Exciting season ahead for the West Bloomfield Lakers. Alongside head coach Tyrice Grice, I'm Tyler Kieft. This is This Week in Laker Football. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk to a few of the players, and then we'll preview the upcoming Kickoff Classic, the Xenith Prep Football Classic at Wayne State University, where the Lakers will take on Sterling Heights Stevenson. We'll be right back with more This Week in Laker Football. West Bloomfield Lakers football is back on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM and statewide on My Michigan TV. Join our team for coverage as the Lakers battle Division I juggernauts like Sterling Heights Stevenson, Clarkston, Utica Eisenhower, and a 2021 playoff rematch with Rochester Adams. Every week, every game, every snap on Civic Center TV, My Michigan TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and lakesfm.com.
Connect with local leaders, philanthropists, and more. The Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce presents the 2022 Leadership Breakfast. Join the Chamber for a morning of insight with guest speaker Laura Graneman, with the whole event emceed by Fox 2 News anchor Roop Raj. Join your local businesses at the Wabeat Country Club September 13th at 8:30 a.m. Order your tickets by September 6th at westbloomfieldchamber.com/breakfast. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft. Joining me now on the program is West Bloomfield Lakers defensive lineman Brandon Davis-Swain, who recently committed to Notre Dame. Brandon, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. And so you committed to Notre Dame, offers from Power 5 schools all across the country, including Michigan and my alma mater, Michigan State. What about Notre Dame was so special to you that you chose that program to go play ball under Coach Freeman?
Coach Freeman, the head coach, he's a great coach, and Coach Washington, the D-line coach, really bringing in for me. He's really family to me. And then when I went back there, like the third time, I just felt comfortable enough, so I committed. Yeah.
When you think about Laker defenses for this program, you think about the defensive line. Great players in the past, Mike Williams a year ago, guys like Niles King, Sterling Miles in the past. Those defensive edges have always kind of been those key players. For you coming into this season after last season, third all-time for a single season in sacks for the Lakers at 17 and a half. What does it feel like for you to take over the reins as that next great Laker D lineman?
It's a little pressure, but I know I'm going to come out here and dominate and come out here and compete. And I want to break the sack record and do as best as I can for my team and lead, go to the state championship and win it all.
Returning 7 players on the defensive side that were starters a year ago. For you and for the guys that are in leadership roles as upperclassmen, what do you say to the younger guys coming up about the culture of this defense and what they need to do to win football games in the MHSAA and especially in the OAA Red?
It's no one better than the team, so you really gotta work together and be a team, be a brotherhood, and it's nobody better than the team. So you got to come out here and play for each other. Just don't play for yourself and play for the team.
Joined by Brandon Davis-Swain, Lakers defensive lineman. You'll also see him on the offensive side playing tight end, a little bit of wide receiver for the Yell Boys this season. Brandon, it's always interesting to see teams come into the seasons after some adversity a year ago. And so for your team, having lost to Rochester Adams in the playoffs, lost them at the beginning of the season, your only losses of the season, how much of a motivation is it to have them in league this year and compete with them for the OAA Red Championship?
It's going to be good, but we're taking it one game at a time. But when we get the chance to play them, we're going to try our best to beat them.
We're joined by Brandon Davis-Swain, Lakers defensive edge, and he is going to Notre Dame. I'm really glad that Michigan State doesn't play them very often anymore, because I am already worried enough about Donovan Edwards, let alone Brandon Davis-Swain year after year. So Brandon, outside of football, when you're not in practice, when you're not absolutely crushing other teams on the football field every Friday, what are some of the things that you enjoy outside of the gridiron?
Playing the game, being with my family, my mom, my dad, my two sisters, going out with friends, like bowling, basketball, just stuff like that.
As you look to the future of this team and look toward the season, what are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking for the brotherhood and everybody coming together as one so we can do what we need to do on the football field.
There he is, the last remaining of the three-headed monster on the edges from the Lakers last season. It's Brandon the Punisher Davis-Swain with us on This Week in Laker Football. Anything else for us, Brandon?
Nothing.
Appreciate having you on. Brandon Davis-Swain, Lakers defensive edge, going to Notre Dame, but a couple more years in West Bloomfield before that. We'll take a quick break on This Week in Laker Football and come back with more. I'm Tyler Kieft. You're watching This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV.
I choose
to stay above the influence for my education.
For my sports and my family.
For football.
To protect my future.
To pursue my dream of becoming a lawyer.
Because cheer is important to me.
I stay above the influence because I can focus better in school and make a positive impact on the world.
For my family and as well my passion in photography.
So I can keep my focuses on my dream.
To be a great leader and focus on my archery. Because I want to have a strong mind and a strong body.
To protect my future.
To stay healthy and to stay safe.
I stay above the influence to continue to pursue what I love.
Because I'm an athlete and I don't want to damage my body.
To spread positivity through my peers and to be a positive leader in my community.
To focus on my extracurricular activities.
Because as an advocate for You Matter at my high school, I believe in relying on a support system of friends and loved ones rather than turning to substance abuse.
Because I want to be the best I can be for those I love.
For my family and for my health.
I'm above the influence because of books and this ball.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV. I'm Tyler Kieft. Joining me now on the program is Kenneth Jones, otherwise known as Jaws, running back for the West Bloomfield Lakers. Kenny, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on, Jaws. So you ranked number 52 in the state of Michigan in the class of 2023. That's by 24/7 Sports. You're headed to Grand Valley State. Let's talk about your commitment to GVSU. What about that program, being one of the great programs in Division II at the national level, enticed you to commit to be a Laker the next 4 years?
Right. Grand Valley, they got some good things going up there. Shout out to Coach Postma and Coach Olsen, the running back coach. I have a great connection with them two coaches right there, and especially the head coach. The head coach came to see me, Coach Mitchell. He came to see me in the weight room and talked to me for a little bit. So the chemistry is definitely there. I'm working on visiting up there more and stuff like that. So right now I'm focused on that.
Lakers the last few seasons have had a great tandem of running backs in the backfield, whether it's Edwards and Tatum, or last year Tatum and Jones. This year you're running back number one. Does that add a little bit of pressure for you?
I'm ready for the pressure. So I had two great backs to look up to. So I'm ready. So it should be a good year this year.
And Jaws has been hitting the weight room too. There's a great video on his Twitter from March where he was squatting 335 for 5 reps in the weight room. This is an absolute monster in the backfield for you coming into the season as RB1 with some of the younger guys coming up before you. The opportunities you had the last couple of years to kind of be in their position gives you some greater insight and a position of leadership this year. What's your message to the younger guys in this program, particularly those in the backfield, about what they need to be a great Laker running back?
So it's really paying attention to the details, watching the rep. When you're sitting out the reps, if you don't know the plays, you gotta learn. You gotta make sure you pay attention. So we hit big on paying attention to the reps and getting more reps. So when I'm out, the younger guys got to step up and they got to want their reps, So, you know what I'm saying? So we our running backs, they're very good. We got Josh Tate. We got Ralph Rogers coming behind me. So we should be good this year, When I'm out, they're in. There's no change. So.
Ralph Rogers getting a lot of playing time in the backfield later on in the season, especially in the playoffs, as another one of those backs as they put some of the other skilled guys out in the wide receiver core, including Kenny Jones, who joins us this week in Laker football. Heading to Grand Valley State after he plays for the Lakers this year. He'll be a Laker for a very long time. Continuing on, your nickname is Jaws.
Yes, sir.
Where did you get that nickname? How did that become your identity with this team?
So I got that nickname. I'm named after my dad. So, they call him Big Jaws. They call me Baby Jaws. I think my grandma gave it to us. They said I had big jaws when I was a baby, so they just gave me that name. I was sticking with roll with it.
I don't know if we were able to get that right over there in a Jaws shirt. That is Ken Jones Sr. We're joined by Ken Jones, running back for the West Bloomfield Lakers on This Week in Laker Football. Before we let you go, what are you most looking forward to in this 2022 season?
State championship, but right now we focused on Stevenson, so I'm going to give my all 110%. This offseason I had a great offseason, so y'all going to see a lot of me this year.
Big things ahead for Kenneth Jones, West Bloomfield Lakers running back on This Week in Laker Football. Ken, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll take a break on This Week in Laker Football, come back with more players, and later on we'll preview the kickoff game against Sterling Heights Stevenson with head coach Tyrice Grice. I'm Tyler Kieft. You're watching This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV.
Connect with local leaders, philanthropists, and more. The Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce presents the 2022 Leadership Breakfast. Join the Chamber for a morning of insight with guest speaker Laura Granneman, with the whole event emceed by Fox 2 News anchor Roop Raj. Join your local businesses at the Wabeat Country Club September 13th at 8:30 a.m. Order your tickets by September 6th at westbloomfieldchamber.com/breakfast. We'll see you there.
West Bloomfield Lakers football is back on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM and statewide on My Michigan TV. Join our team for coverage as the Lakers battle Division I juggernauts like Sterling Heights Stevenson, Clarkston, Utica Eisenhower, and a 2021 playoff rematch with Rochester Adams. Every week, every game, every snap on Civic Center TV, My Michigan TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and lakesfm.com. Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft. I'm glad I'm holding a microphone and not a football right now. Running against these two guys, we got Montele Johnson and Rob Harris, West Bloomfield Lakers linebackers coming into this season. Rob, you're coming back after last season as one of the key linebackers on this team, a starter, one of the only returning starters in that linebacking core this year. For you, coming off last season, what sort of motivation do you have, having taken a late season run into the playoffs, played a really competitive team that's now in your league, and coming back chasing a championship in your senior year?
Well, I'm very confident in ourselves and each other. We have a great linebacker core. We're all very talented. We've all been playing with each other since we were real little kids, about 5 years old. And, it's really not enough. It's not a lot of pressure that I have, especially on myself. I'm very confident because of how much of the work that I've been putting in and the team that I'm playing with and, the caliber that we're bringing every game. And I already know how it's going to be, so I'm very confident. I'm not cocky, but I'm very humble, but I will speak and say that I'm confident in our team.
That confidence is key, and that brotherhood is key too. How does that play in, especially when you talk about chemistry at so many levels of sports professionally? At the high school level, it can be just as important, if not more important, as you're also learning the game together.
Yeah, we really do have great chemistry, but not only that, we are brothers and we play like brothers, especially in practices. We're always very competitive with each other, offense versus defense, just playing for the next man up. we play like that every night, and we're bringing it in the game because once you play like how you practice, and we don't just practice to practice, we practice with a goal in mind, and the goal to state championship.
We're also joined by Montele Johnson in the Lakers 18 for West Bloomfield this year. Montele, Coach Grice had a lot of good things to say about you in our opening segment, saying you're that next guy up on the defensive side in the linebacking core. For you, what are your focuses in terms of building your game in this 2022-23 season?
My focus on building my game is staying patient and make sure I know what to do. Because last year, I had a lot of stuff I was missing out on and I can improve on. So I'm like staying patient, reading my keys and all that stuff. So I'm have a better time doing that this year. I'm practicing in offseason on.
The Lakers program has developed so many great linebackers and guys that play in the box on the defensive side of the ball. As you learn from some of the seniors on this team, like Robert Harris and and some of the upperclassmen like Brandon Davis-Swain and beyond, and from this defensive coaching staff, what are you looking forward to this year in terms of having that key role with the Lakers defense?
Having that key role, it's gonna have a lot of pressure on me, but it's gonna build a lot of character on me. So all that pressure, it's gonna help me to improve on a better player and all that stuff. So from last year with Rob Harris and Corey, our two starting linebackers from last year, I had a lot of stuff to learn from them last year. I'm picking up a lot of keys and all that, so I'm trying to add that to my game this year.
Corey Garrison, having graduated last year after playing a great season for the West Bloomfield Lakers. Robert Harris returning this year for the West Bloomfield, and so is Montele Johnson with us on This Week in Laker Football. One thing you're noticing, and our players are noticing as well, you look a little bit different on this football field today. New uniforms for the West Bloomfield Lakers. What do you guys think of the new digs? Rob, start with you.
I really like these uniforms. We want to wear them as early as we can, but we're not going to say when we're going to wear them. But just know we're coming different in today. So
yeah, I really like them. It's different instead of wearing all green, all white. So it's kind of happy. We're wearing all black, my favorite color. So happy about that.
A little inside This Week in Laker Football. We like it too in the broadcasting booth. You can really clearly see those numbers, and they look great. We won't tease either when they're going to play them. You're going to have to see that on Civic Center TV. Listen to it on Lakes FM for each and every one of their home games as we go throughout this Laker season. Guys, anything else for us before we let you go?
Watch out for us on August 25th at 7 p.m. Wayne State. Tune in.
We're the same team from last year, so make sure y'all got us on our schedule. Make sure y'all preparing all that stuff because we coming.
Yes, sir.
7 starters returning on the defensive side and some new weapons as well, including Montele Johnson. I've been joined by Montele Johnson and Rob Harris on This Week in Laker Football. We'll take a break, talk to a couple more players, and then talk to Coach Grice. You're watching This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV. West Bloomfield Lakers football is back on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM and statewide on My Michigan TV. Join our team for coverage as the Lakers battle Division I juggernauts like Sterling Heights Stevenson, Clarkston, Utica Eisenhower, and a 2021 playoff rematch with Rochester Adams. Every week, every game, every snap on Civic Center TV, My Michigan TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and lakesfm.com.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's a second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft. Joining me now is the gunslinger for the West Bloomfield Lakers, quarterback Rick Nance, in his second season at the helm and his junior season for West Bloomfield. Rick, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Exciting season last year for you. You're first at the helm, taking over the quarterback position after C.J. Harris had graduated. And for you coming into your second season, what are some of your focuses in continuing to improve as a ball player, but also now that you're in such a high leadership role for this offense?
Just get my team straight, be a leader on the field and off the field, in the classroom, in school,
just lead our team to a state championship. That's all I can say, or just get far in the playoffs.
Coming off of a championship season, and then for you starting at the quarterback position after that championship season, did that add an element of pressure to last year? And now that you're coming off a season that was still very successful, but not quite going as far as you guys would have hoped, does that relieve some of that pressure?
I mean, I just play football. I just play football. That's all. Just having fun playing football. Just having fun with my team. Just to make my family happy.
Number 5 all-time in single-season passing yards for the West Bloomfield Lakers, and that's just in his first season as the quarterback. Rick Nance is with us on This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV and all throughout the West Bloomfield area and all around the world. CivicCenterTV.com is where you can tune in. Also, number 5 in touchdown passes for season at 18 last year, and part of that is having great weapons in the receiving core and in your tight ends as well. You're returning this year with one of the best receivers, if not the best wide receiver in the state, Michigan commit Samaj Morgan, but I won't hold that against him as a Spartan myself. How does having your number 1 guy back this season for both of you play into just how dangerous this offense is going to be?
I mean, it's just not just him. It's my line. It's just everybody, the whole Laker Nation. It's just going to have a great season than last year. We're going to work harder, and we got a lot to prove this year. And I'm not going to talk about it. It's just going to be about it.
Last season for you as a dual threat quarterback, a great arm, great field vision, excellent runner as well, but also a young quarterback. And there's a lot of mistakes that come along with that, a lot to learn as you're running an offense, especially in your first season. For you, what have you been focusing on over the offseason, especially after such a close, heartbreaking loss in Rochester in the playoffs, to come back stronger this year and have a great season?
This year I've been focusing on getting my speed better and stronger, and the coaches have said I got stronger and faster over the season. During practice and camp season, they said I got stronger and faster, so I'm surprised at myself for working that hard in the past off season.
Coming into the season, there is no preseason in high school football or in college football alike, and so for you having an opportunity just recently to be in a 4-way practice, see some other guys that aren't your teammates, that don't know what you're doing out there necessarily, haven't really studied your game, and getting some of those reps in before a competitive first game of the season against Stevenson, what does that do for you as a quarterback and to get some of those preseason jitters out?
I don't have jitters. I just play football, and it just makes me better. Like the 7-on-7s just make me better. Coaches make me better. I want to thank all my coaches here. They just make me better. Just make me lead all the time. Just talk to me all the time just to get the team better.
Rick, anything else for us that we should be looking out for from you, or things you want to say before we go into this Laker football season?
I'm just mainly focused on getting a state championship, leading my team far, and breaking the record that Bryce Veasley had over 3,000 passing yards. I just want to break his record passing the ball. No hard feelings about it. I just want to just set the record.
Number 5 all-time at 1,406 yards in his first season as a quarterback. To break that record, to chase Bryce Veasley, he's got to get to 4,105 career passing yards for the West Bloomfield Lakers. On Twitter, you'll see he's Rick That Man Nance. You'll see why he's that man each and every week on Civic Center TV for all of our football games. Rick, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. We'll be back in just a moment on This Week in Laker Football. We'll come back, we'll talk to Coach Tyrice Grice and preview the upcoming matchup against the Sterling Heights Stevenson Titans on This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV. West Bloomfield Lakers football is back on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM and statewide on My Michigan TV. Join our team for coverage as the Lakers battle Division I juggernauts like Sterling Heights Stevenson, Clarkston, Utica Eisenhower, and a 2021 playoff rematch with Rochester Adams. Every week, every game, every snap on Civic Center TV, My Michigan TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and lakesfm.com. Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft, back again with Head Coach Tyrice Grice as the Lakers are getting ready for the Xenith Prep Kickoff Classic at Wayne State University, taking on another team that's always been very strong here in southeastern Michigan, Sterling Heights Stevenson. What does your team know about the Titans, and what is your focus going into that game for your team about beating the 34th ranked Sterling Heights Stevenson Titans?
Well, we know they're a good team. They've made it deep in the playoff the last 3 years. In fact, the last 3 losses in the playoff were from eventual state champions. So the coach and I, we talked a few times before the season started, and we talked about that he needs to. He said he needs to really get his competition up a little bit. That's why he chose us to play this first game. But they're a good team. They're a team that we got to prepare for. We talked about the 5 P's in our program today, and that is proper preparation prevents poor performance. And that's one of the things we stride on is being prepared. And this is a team that has a lot of weapons, so we're looking forward to playing these guys and see what we can do with them.
And one of the key weapons for this team is Tyler White. Strong first name, strong player as well for the Titans. What about Tyler White makes him such a dangerous player that your guys got to look out for, particularly on the defensive side of the football?
Well, Tyler White is a hell of an athlete. We're looking forward to playing this guy. We watched a little film on him. I know exactly who you're talking about. And he has the motor on him. So but we got some guys that could be able to stop this guy. And if that's the only person we worry about, then we up for the challenge. We up for the challenge.
It's always a question of debate at the college level, in particular, when we talk about teams' early season schedules, those non-conference games, in this case, the non-league games. You mentioned a little bit earlier, going up against the team that Stevenson said they wanted to really challenge their team, going up against a perennial contender like West Bloomfield. For your team, having that early season challenge against a program like Sterling Heights Stevenson, what benefit does that bring to your program as it tries at another championship?
Well, we know the road to Ford Field is always going to be a challenge. So our attitude is we want to be prepared for those tough games. And if we can play a regular season that's tough, that'll get us ready for the playoffs. So we're not going to be one of those teams that the first team we play that's good is in the playoff. In our league, in the OAA, we'll play anybody. That's our attitude. As long as we come prepared, I think we can beat anybody out here. But anybody can beat us as well if we don't come prepared. And we make sure we stay humble and make sure we execute our game plan. We'll be successful.
Environment can play such a big role in any football game. Having you guys kick off the season at Wayne State University, especially for a team of guys that are looking at the next level or are coming into this program, hoping that their gameplay can get them to the next level. How does that environment, provide some excitement for your players, but also gain that excitement for a season ahead?
Well, that first game is always a good indicator of where you stand. And to play this first game at Wayne State against a good program, and if we come on top of that, that's really set the tone for the rest of the season. But it also tells us where we stand in terms of a program moving forward. But we always want to play that first game tough so we can set the foundation where we stand, what we need to work on, where's the holes at, where the weaknesses at, where our strengths is at. You're really going to find that out after that first game.
Coach Grice, anything else for us about this upcoming game with Stevenson or the season ahead?
Well, all I say is just Laker Nation, come on out. We're excited about this season. We need your support. We want you guys to come out and fill this stadium at Wayne State. Go Lakers, and let's go get this ring.
Coach Tyrice Grice, head coach of the West Bloomfield Lakers in the second season at the helm. That is going to do it for this week in Laker football. You can tune into the program every single week after each and every Lakers home and away game on Civic Center TV, on My Michigan TV, and all throughout the state of Michigan, around the world on CivicCenterTV.com. I'm Tyler Kieft. We'll see you next week.